Okay, guys, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Now, fasten your seatbelts. Here we go. Hey, there y'all are. I'm back. It's Thursday, February the 13th. Tomorrow's Valentine's Day. Don't forget your loved one. And it's 10:12 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, I am a little bit later tonight. I had some running around I had to do for my mom. And, but better late than never, I guess. So anyway, I'll be earlier tomorrow. Well, Lord willing. All right, so let's jump in. We're going to be covering the news tonight. And I forgot to get my little list together here. So my next video, I will thank those of you that have contributed and sent me snail mail. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. As you all know, it makes this possible. So I do appreciate it very much. Now, we're going to go through some news items, and probably tomorrow or the day after that, I will do another update on the coronavirus because, yes, there's stuff every day. But anyway, today we're going to get caught up with the news du jour. All right, let's look at this. I hope everyone is doing well. It is cold here, very, very cold, and snowing. It was snowing when I came in. So, yeah, I'm glad I'm in here where it's warm talking to you guys. All right. And I just wanted to say, I mean, I know some of you hate when I chat, but I've had the weirdest day. I mean, just weird. I think that people are just getting more and more bizarre all the time. And I mean, for me to say that, I mean, I've lived in major US cities and, you know, here I am in little rural Ontario right now. And, you know, normally people are pretty, you know, not too out there. But today, I don't know. I think all the crazies were out today. And I went into, the post office. I have to tell you this, you know, I have to. I went into the post office and this lady, she was a very, very big lady, and she turned around, she smiled at me and everything, and I smiled back, and then I realized that she had just let off the worst fart ever. And I'm not talking about, you know, one of those farts like just, and it's gone. No, this fart could bake bread. Seriously, it's the kind that make your eyes water, and you think, my gosh, I'm going to throw up. And you think, perhaps I'll never eat again. But yeah. And then the person comes out, the attendant, the postal person comes out, and you know she was thinking it was me. And I wanted to say something. It wasn't me. But then, you know, people say the one who smelt it dealt it. So I didn't want to, you know, draw more attention. But my gosh, that was embarrassing. Then I went into the grocery store and I see this little 3-year-old boy. I mean, he looked to be about 3. And he's the cutest little thing. And he's standing there just boo-hooing in the middle of an aisle and there's nobody around. And he's just, I mean, crying like there's no tomorrow. So I went up to him and I said, hi, where's your mom? You know, are you okay? Do you want me to help you find your mom? And he's looking at me, tears streaming down his face. Well, you know, and I'm just talking to him and I'm saying, do you want to come with me and we'll try to find your mom, or and I thought, well, maybe I should go and ask them to make an announcement or something because he's quite evidently lost. And then his mother comes motoring down the aisle, grabs him, and looks at me like I'm trying to steal her child. And I'm thinking, you've got to be kidding me. But anyway, and then, of course, you know, she's looking at me like this. And then other people come up and they're looking like, what? You know, what'd she do? I guess you just have to leave a child alone and let them cry in the middle of the aisle. Like the poor little guy, I didn't want him to, you know, he was crying his little eyes out and his mom was over in another aisle, I guess, but poor little thing. Anyway, I don't know why I'm in a chatty mood. I think I could chat the hind leg off a mule right tonight. I don't know why, but I've just had one of those days. All right, let's get into the news because that's what you came for. I would assume. If you came to hear me chat, then really you have got to get a life. All right. So watch, Ted Cruz exposes radical Democrat plan to allow abortion after birth. Yeah. I don't know. You've got to be a special kind of evil to think that it's okay to see a baby born that's perhaps born alive after a botched abortion and just take it into a room and let it die with no comfort, nothing. You've got to be a special kind of evil for that. Anyway, Ted Cruz defends life. Republican Senator Ted Cruz, Texas, revealed that Virginia Governor Ralph Northam supported a bill that allows a mother to decide to abort a baby during labor. Can you imagine? Governor Northam supported a bill that would allow abortions when a mother was already in labor, said Cruz during a Senate Judiciary Committee hearing. For all of us who are parents, imagine that. Cruz said, well, I'm not a parent, but I'll tell you, I would have loved to have had a child, and I don't get it. I just don't get it. I don't think you have to be a parent to get it. I think that, there are lots of people that may not have children, but they just would not have it in them to do something like that. Anyway, Cruz stated that Governor Northam also supports allowing parents to decide whether or not a baby should live or die after a baby has been born. Can you imagine? Governor Northam said, and I quote, "The infant would be delivered. The infant would be kept comfortable." Sorry, I don't know where that yawn came from. It just took over my whole face. It's probably a leftover reaction from that, bad air that I took in earlier tonight. Anyway, the infant would be delivered, the infant would be kept comfortable, the infant would be resuscitated if that's what the mother and family desired, and then a discussion would ensue between the physicians and the mother. This is a sitting governor, the Commonwealth of Virginia, calmly discussing allowing this baby to die. I don't get it. Do you guys get it? I don't. I don't understand how anybody could allow that. But let's listen to Senator Ted Cruz. This is 3 minutes and 51 seconds long. Or maybe it's just going to sit and spin. I don't know.
In that radio interview, Governor Northam supported a bill that would allow abortions when a mother was already in labor. For all of us who are parents, imagine that. The idea that it would be somehow debatable what to do with that child, that there would be another side, so to speak, politically, about whether to kill that child, whether to allow that child to live, or whether to do everything you can to protect that innocent life. It is a remarkable statement of just how extreme and radical the pro-abortion side of this debate has gotten. A woman in labor, preparing to deliver a child, and this Virginia bill said even then, in the midst of labor, you could conduct what are called an abortion. But Governor Northam went further than that. He said, and I quote, "The infant would be delivered. The infant would be kept comfortable. The infant would be resuscitated if that's what the mother and family desired. And then a discussion would ensue between the physicians and the mother." This is a sitting governor, the Commonwealth of Virginia, calmly discussing allowing this baby to die.
because I think that this is an important point, and I'm worried that there's confusion here. When I think about the reality of these families, the situation that Ms. Christensen described, when there frankly are just no good options. And for those families, I trust parents to make those decisions together with their medical providers. They should be consulting each other, consulting their faith.
Ms. Graves, I want to be clear what decisions you're saying. You believe that a parent should say...
How to spend the last few moments that you are going to have with your dying baby. That's the decision I trust them to make.
We have literature that they admit is underreporting how often this is happening. It is. And as the physician who attends the deliveries, I don't decide life and death. I respond to a baby. And if it is in our medical ability to help, we do. But it's not something we take a vote on in the delivery room.
Yeah, it's interesting. I guess for me, what I don't get is, I understand that women can find themselves pregnant and not be prepared to have a baby. Now, I personally don't agree with abortion. That is my personal feeling based on my faith. But to carry it all the way to term and then abort it, that's a special kind of evil to me. Really, because there are so many couples that would love to have a child, but can't. Maybe fertility problems, what have you, and would give this child a wonderful life and all the opportunities that they could afford to give. And for parents to vote to have that child killed or to let it die with no comfort, alone in a room, when really they could allow the doctor to save its life and put it up for adoption. I don't get it, but that is me. All right, let's go on now, because I think I'm at this point flogging a dead horse on that. So let's look at this. And Tom Fitton, Mueller's prosecutors trying to vindicate their own scam by going after Roger Stone. Now, this is today's news, so it's hot and fresh. I don't even think it's cooled off yet. So it rises out of the Mueller investigation, which has been thoroughly compromised by not only the FISA, come up with the political nature of the investigators, most of whom are Democrat or Democrat donors. Tom Fitton, the Judicial Watch president, told Tucker Carlson tonight, referring to the DOJ's recommendation to imprison Roger Stone for up to 9 years. You also have them investigating Trump for almost 2 years, knowing the underlying issue, Russia collusion, was a big scam and a big lie. There is a scandal at the Justice Department, but it has nothing to do with Bill Barr, Fitton said. It has everything to do with these prosecutors who are acting like their own little team, independent of the rule of law, to target President Trump, to try to vindicate the Mueller scan and slap at Trump after his vindication by acquittal in the impeachment thing. And by the way, they are talking now about impeachment 2.0. They are going to go at it again. That's what they're talking about. Meanwhile, earlier, President Trump railed against federal prosecutors who had initially recommended a lengthy sentence for Stone, calling it a disgrace. The fact is that Roger Stone was treated horribly, and so were many other people. Trump said their lives were destroyed. He added, Roger Stone, nobody even knows what he did. Frankly, they ought to apologize to a lot of people whose lives they've ruined. And that's the truth. I mean, ruined financially, ruined their good name, everything else. So, yeah. Now, let's go back. And let's, you're going to get I don't know. It's almost funny, but in a very, very sad way. Let's look at Sheila Jackson Lee. And I believe, isn't she the one with the big pedo ring? I think she is. Anyway, Sheila Jackson Lee declares Trump's budget cuts are slavery because minorities will be encouraged to work. What? That's what she said. Sometimes I look at these elected officials and I think, how on earth did this person ever get elected? Yes, I think that every day. I'm thinking that right now. How did she get elected? She's obviously not a very smart woman. She's not. You can listen to her talk and know that she's not very bright. Anyway, sometimes I look at these elected officials and I think, how on earth did this person ever get elected? Sheila Jackson Lee is one of those people that makes me question our entire voting process. She's just such a fool. Yes, I would agree. Case in point, during a House Budget Committee hearing, Representative Sheila Jackson Lee suggested President Trump's new budget proposal was like slavery. Trump's program encourages minorities and immigrants to choose work over government benefits, and somehow that's slavery to Jackson Lee. Lee lamented that this spring alone, over 700,000 people will likely lose food assistance as states begin to implement the Trump administration's expanded SNAP time limit. She went on to try and explain how getting people off of government assistance and helping them get back to work is somehow linked to slavery. All right. Does she realize that everybody in this country has to work unless they're disabled or unless they're retired? Most people have to work unless you're independently wealthy and you've, inherited a great sum of money, or you've made a great sum of money and retired early. But either way, somebody's got to work for it. Unbelievable. So Lee said, and what they're gearing it towards is that in slavery, they begin to characterize the descendants of enslaved Africans as lazy. That's all the stereotypes, she added, and there were laws that were put in place. You were picking cotton, you couldn't get assistance, and so this document is trying to uproot the long belief that poor people, particularly African Americans and now immigrants, are lazy. No. I think that if you can work and you're poor and you need assistance, but you're not working because you just don't want to, then you're lazy. Yeah, I think that, unless you're sick, unless you've got a medical reason or you're retired, whatever. I mean, I'm sorry, but and even people that are retired still have to work. They got to do laundry. They got to keep up the house. They got to do, repairs to their house. Everybody works at something. But I guess Sheila Lee is, or what is her full name? Sheila Jackson Lee. Yeah, I guess she's used to getting a good salary for doing nothing. So I don't know, but Lee said, and what they're gearing it towards is that in slavery. Okay, so I read that. She added that there were laws that were put into place. You were picking cotton, you couldn't get assistance. So this document, okay, I read that. All right, now, let's see. I think there is a Sheila Jackson Lee invokes slavery while trying to lie about Trump's budget. Insane. Russell Voigt, in response, Congresswoman, that is ridiculous. That is way beyond ridiculous. These people are, well, I will, pardon my French, but batshit crazy. And I'm just reading what's there. All right, so let's play this, because I know you want to hear it.
When Arkansas and other states have begun to implement work requirements in Medicaid, thousands of people have lost their health insurance. This spring, over 700,000 people will likely lose food assistance as states begin to implement the Trump administration's expanded SNAP time limit. And what they're gearing it toward is that in slavery, they begin to characterize the descendants of enslaved Africans as lazy. That's all the stereotypes. And there were laws put in place that if you were picking cotton, you couldn't get assistance. And so this document is trying to uproot the long belief that poor people, particularly African Americans, and now immigrants and others, are lazy. This budget clearly emphasized that, unfortunately, racially charged direction in cutting Medicaid, in cutting nutrition programs, in cutting housing. And so my question is this.
Congresswoman, that is ridiculous.
Excuse me, I have the time.
Clinton-
I have the time and I'm
President
reclaiming
Clinton signed
it.
into
I
law
have the
welfare
time.
reform.
I have the
It's a
time.
requirement, Congresswoman.
Mr.
Vogt, Mr. Vogt,
out of order, and my clock needs to stop. You don't have the time.
you'll be given a chance to respond.
Could you imagine her being your neighbor? I couldn't. She's always angry. She always seems like she's angry. And that is really, seriously, the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. You know, all that Trump is requiring is that if you're going to get assistance, you should work. If you're not working, now there's lots of people that are working, but they're not making enough to buy their family food, and they get assistance. And I don't think that there's any requirement for them, but for people that aren't working and want food stamps, there's a work requirement. I don't get why that is controversial. Seems to make sense to me. And it's not like they're going to be making people that are disabled go out and work, or people that are elderly or retired go out and work. I mean, come on, people. And I'm not talking about you guys. I'm talking about her. Unbelievable. All right, Democrats as a party simply can't survive without minorities being beaten down and living off government assistance. This is why the Dems do all they can to paint minorities as victims and keep their communities hopeless and poverty-stricken. And I don't think that there was ever, maybe I'm wrong, because I grew up here in Canada. I spent most of my adult life in the South, but I don't think that anyone ever thought that the slaves were lazy. My gosh, those people worked harder than, well, they were worked like animals, a lot of them. But I don't know. It's so ridiculous. Even discussing it, I feel like my IQ is getting lowered. So let's go back and let's look at this, because we can and we will. All right, depopulation for profit. Bill Gates funded the Pirbright Institute, which owns the patent on coronavirus. That's right. Now, this is a little bit older. This is from January 29th, but still very pertinent. All right. Natural news, believe it or not, the coronavirus strain that's currently spreading throughout China and abroad is a patented virus that's owned by an entity called the Pirbright Institute, which is partially funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. The patent page for coronavirus explains that it may be used as a vaccine for treating and or preventing a disease such as infectious bronchitis in a subject, suggesting that this is just another weaponized viral strain designed to sell more useless, deadly vaccines, while at the same time killing off a few thousands or perhaps a few million people. A close look at the patent page also shows that the Pirbright Institute owns all sorts of other virus patents, including one for African swine fever virus, which is listed as a vaccine. It is thus no surprise that Bill Gates is a Pirbright Institute financial backer, seeing as how he's one of the most aggressive vaccine-pushing philanthropists on the planet. Gee, I wonder why. I think we all know why. The way this whole coronavirus situation is taking shape would seem to be exactly what Gates once proposed as a solution to the alleged problem of overpopulation. At an infamous TED Talk, Gates explained that vaccines are one of the keys to reducing global population levels, and what better way to do that than to unleash patented coronavirus on the masses in order to later introduce a patented vaccine for it. Of course. Yep, they will. This was released, or it either on purpose or by accident, but this was released from the lab, and it will they're probably wanting it to reduce population, but then miraculously a vaccine will appear on the scene and it will be pushed worldwide, and they will make a boatload of money while reducing the population. That's how it works, folks, and we know it. For more related news about coronavirus and other weaponized viruses being unleashed by eugenicists like Bill Gates, be sure to check out Outbreak News. Now, I haven't been there, but I should check that out. Bill and Melinda Gates hosted Event 201 back in October, described as a high-level pandemic exercise. What's further interesting is that Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation co-hosted a high-level pandemic exercise back in October that involved discussions about how public-private partnerships will be necessary during the response to a severe pandemic in order to diminish large-scale economic and societal consequences. Gee, it's almost like all of this was planned. And it was released at the absolute worst time, right at the Chinese New Year's, where everyone was traveling. That's their holiday season. Everybody travels. They either travel to see family within China, or they travel overseas, or people that are overseas come back home. So yeah, it was at the absolute worst time. And obviously, if they just had this grand scale pandemic, exercise, doesn't that look planned to you? Sure does to me. Anyway, it was held in partnership with the Johns Hopkins Center for Health Security and the World Economic Forum. This latest endeavor by Bill Gates is highly suspicious, to say the least, especially when considering that it was held just in time for the coronavirus outbreak. Yeah, I find that highly suspicious. As is usually the case with suspicious disease outbreaks that get the media and academia talking about new vaccines and public-private partnerships, Bill Gates' fingerprints are almost always hiding in the background, and this is exactly the case with coronaviruses, which could accomplish many of Gates' expectations for the future, including mass depopulation, mass vaccination, and mass consolidation of government power. These events are increasing and they are disruptive to health, economies, and society, reads an announcement about Event 201, as they called it, or the meeting with Gates and his cronies from back in October. Managing these events already strains global capacity, even absent a pandemic threat. Experts agree that it's only a matter of time before one of these pandemics become global, a pandemic with potential catastrophic consequences. A severe pandemic, which becomes Event 201, would require reliable cooperation among several industries, national governments, and key international institutions. So this reads like a predictive script for what we're now seeing with coronavirus as governments around the world scramble to manage this deadly outbreak with martial law, vaccine fast-tracking, quarantines, and plenty of fear-mongering. If we do a really great job on vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services, we could lower the global population by perhaps about 10 to 15%. Gates is infamously quoted as saying about the true intent of his humanitarian efforts. Make no mistake about it, he is not a humanitarian. He's a eugenicist. There's a big difference. Be sure to stay tuned for more breaking news about the developing coronavirus, and we are staying on top of that, and I will continue to stay on top of that. So let's go back and see what else we can get into here. And let's look at this. I think you will be very pleased with this news item. Now, actually, this is from December 5th. That's weird, but I'd never heard about this. MSNBC's Rachel Maddow taken to court over Trump-Russia lie. Were you guys aware of that? Because I wasn't, and this popped up somewhere in a feed of mine. And, yeah, it's actually old now. MSNBC's Rachel Maddow has been pushing unfounded and salacious conspiracy theories for years about President Donald Trump and Republicans. Maddow made herself the queen of fake news after she dedicated 2 years of her show to falsely claim to her viewers there's evidence Trump colluded with Russia to win the 2016 election. But her lies finally caught up with her a few months ago when the conservative Network One American News Network smacked her with a cease and desist letter. Maddow is now in court trying to defend herself with legal help from Comcast and MSNBC because she's being sued for $10 million for claiming OANN reporter is a Russian asset trying to subvert America and help Trump. This story has taken several turns in recent months. Here's how it started. In their lawsuit, OANN demanded retraction from Maddow and the Daily Beast, Kevin Poulsen, after both claimed there's a connection between the conservative network and Russian propaganda. Poulsen published a piece on July 22nd, falsely claiming OANN host Kirsten Ruse is a Russian national on the payroll of the Kremlin's official propaganda outlet Sputnik. On the same day, Maddow used a chunk of her MSNBC program to detail the report from Poulsen and claimed that OANN literally is Russian propaganda. The cease and desist letter, which was sent on July 25th, states that Ruse writes for Sputnik, a Russian government-owned news outlet, but contends that he has never had decision-making authority with respect to the content that is aired on OAN. His outside work for other media outlets has no relation to or bearing on his work for OAN, the letter stated. To make his shoddy case, Poulsen's article quoted former FBI agent Clint Watts, who claimed that OANN employing Ruse meant that the outlet has merged with Russian state-sponsored propaganda. Below is a video of Maddow covering Poulsen's article and claiming that OANN is a boutique little news outlet that is designed specifically for Trump mega fans. It's called One American News Network. We literally learned today that the outlet that the president is promoting shares staff with the Kremlin, Maddow said July 22nd. I mean, what? It's an easy thing to throw out. Hey, that looks like Russian propaganda. In this case, the most obsequiously pro-Trump right-wing news outlet is America literally is paid Russian propaganda. And of course, that was not true. None of it is true. I'm not going to play what she said there, but Maddow's attorney argued that OAN utterly ignores the context of Ms. Maddow's comment, which is nothing more than a vivid hyperbolic turn of phrase sandwiched between precise factual recitations that indisputably and accurately state the facts from the Daily Beast article. They also said the comment is fully protected opinion because it was based on disclosed facts, and B, does not imply any additional objective facts such that is capable of being proven false. The next court date in the case is December 16th. At that point, we might know a bit more about whether Maddow literally has something to worry about. This is what Trump derangement syndrome looks like, and it may have finally caught up with Maddow. Now, I have not heard of this. This is the first time I'm hearing about it, and I don't know what the outcome was. So I'm going to have to look that up and see. But are you guys aware of this? Have you heard anything? Probably because it's not really out there. It's just in alternative websites. You know, the mainstream media is not going to write about it. Of course not. They would never attack one of their darlings. All right, now let's go on here and let's look at this. I was just saying the other day, where the heck is George W. Bush? I haven't heard from him in a long time, not since his father's funeral, but here he is. And, oh gosh, you know what? This is old too. I don't know where I got this stuff today, but this is from 2017. I'm not going to read that. But he said, I'm worried that I will be the last Republican president. Well, he didn't have to worry, did he? All right, and let's come down here. I'm going to remove that. I must have been smoking crack when I got this ready. I wasn't. All right, this from Donald Trump. You gotta love this guy. He's the best troller on earth. Donald J. Trump, Mini Mike, is a 5'4", massive dead energy who does not want to be on the debate stage with these professional politicians. No box, please. He hates crazy Bernie and will, with enough money, possibly stop him. Bernie's people will go nuts. Oh, I love Trump. All right, now let's look at this. Now, this is from today, so it's hot and fresh. Hot and fresh, like the Krispy Kreme donut sign. All right, Mike Bloomberg is paying online influencers to post memes for his 2020 campaign. Because we know the left can't meme. That's just, it's like white men can't dance and the left can't meme. All right. Democratic presidential candidate Mike Bloomfield was recently the subject of several satirical memes uploaded to Instagram. A spokesperson said the billionaire has teamed up with social creators to collaborate with the campaign, including the meme world. Bloomberg's campaign reportedly tapped Meme 2020, a firm with links to Jerry Media, to create a self-aware, iconic character about him. Yeah, he's about as self-aware as a soap dish. Mike Bloomberg has been paying a handful of social media influencers to post satirical memes about him for his Democratic presidential bid. Yeah, good luck with that. The billionaire former mayor of New York was recently the subject of several memes uploaded to photo sharing app Instagram. Each of the posts claims to be sponsored by him. One Instagram account run by meme aggregator Jerry Media depicts Bloomberg sending a direct message asking it to post a meme that lets everyone know I'm a cool candidate or I'm the cool candidate. No, you're not. No, you're not cool. I mean, Trump's cool. I mean, do you think this guy could pack a stadium? No. Another from Tank Sinatra, an account with over 2 million followers, alludes to a viral clip from Democratic rival Bernie Sanders requesting financial support, but the text instead reads, "I am once again asking for you to make me look cool." Weird. So, yeah, it says, Mr. Tank, I've been waiting for my meme for so long that I've learned how to make memes myself in Photoshop. What do you think of this one? And there's Bernie Sanders, and it says, I am once again asking for you to make me look cool. Like, really? How much is he paying for people to create these memes? Because I'm going to stick by what I said. The left can't meme. The posts are all ads coming with sponsorship disclaimers and seem to be satirical. Tank Sinatra, whose real name is George Resch, even says, yes, this is really sponsored by Mike Bloomberg. Other accounts have created similar content, including Grape Juice Boys, which has 2.7 million followers, and She Thread Steve, which has 5.3. Mike Bloomberg 2020 has teamed up with social creators to collaborate with the campaign, including the meme world. Sabrina Singh, Bloomberg's senior national spokesperson, told CNBC, while a meme strategy may be new to presidential politics, no, it's not. Trump created it. I mean, really, nobody was doing this before Trump. Nobody even bothered with the online world before Trump. Anyway, while a meme strategy may be new to presidential politics, we're betting it will be an effective component to reach people where they are and compete with President Trump's powerful digital operation. You can't compete, Bloomberg. Are you nuts? Nobody likes you. I'm sorry, that's mean. I sound like a bully. I don't know where all that meanness is coming from. News of Bloomberg's appeal to social media creators was previously reported by the New York Times, which said his campaign had tapped Meme 2020, a firm with links to Jerry Media, to create a self-aware, iconic character around Bloomberg. Jerry Media has previously been accused of stealing memes and passing them off as its own content without creating the original creator, or crediting the original creator. The organization's founder apologized, promising to do the right thing by creators by seeking permission and giving them the credit they deserve. Separately, the Daily Beast reported that Bloomberg had been pitching to micro-influencers to create sponsored content content for a fixed fee of $150. Such creators typically have a fan base of 1,000 to 100,000 followers. Well, you know, my gosh, people really that hard up that they would sell their soul to have him reach more people? I sure wouldn't. All right. No matter how much they paid me, because money is only money. But, you know, once you compromise your character, that's it. All right. So let's look at this. And this by an open secret, the FBI sent 29 agents to arrest Roger Stone at his home, 0 agents to arrest Ghislaine Maxwell, who procured many underage girls for Jeffrey Epstein. Government priorities. Yeah. And let's look at this. All right. Now Stone and his wife, who is, hang on here. All right. This by Donna Warren says, now Stone and his wife, who is 71 years old and deaf, have lost their home because of this. They have no insurance. They are utterly broke. The whole thing is shocking and disgusting. It's a farce that discredits the entire American justice system, and I agree. Let's play this by Tucker Carlson.
You'll remember that prosecutors tipped off Jeff Zucker's network last year so they could have cameras in place when dozens of federal agents armed with automatic weapons dragged Roger Stone from his home at dawn. Talk about state TV. For the last 2 days, the hyenas on CNN have been driven to hysteria by the thought that the Justice Department might reduce Roger Stone's sentence even by a day.
It is clearly utterly offensive to the rule of law. This is what sets this country apart. This is what a banana republic does. This is what a dictator does. It is outrageous. I hope people are infuriated by this.
The reason they're doing it is slimy, sleazy, dirty.
Roger Stone is somebody I hold in minimum high esteem. So I was not unhappy to see him get 7 to 9, but I
You didn't think that was too aggressive?
Brooke, I thought it was aggressive.
Wait a second. Was that really John Dean telling you how happy he is that Roger Stone will die in jail? So CNN's moral arbiter on questions of law and order is literally a convicted felon? It's enough to make your head spin. But at least it's now clear what's actually going on. This is a pure political hit. Roger Stone is facing prison because he is a high-profile Donald Trump supporter. It's that simple. You want proof? Here it is. John Brennan and James Clapper will sleep at home tonight. Both have been caught lying under oath on camera about matters of national importance. And yet neither's in jail. Neither's been indicted. Neither ever will be. The Stone case, by contrast, was transparently political from day one. The lead prosecutor, Andrew Weissman, is now literally an MSNBC contributor. The judge in the case, Amy Berman Jackson, is an out-of-control Democratic partisan who purely out of spite stripped Roger Stone of his First Amendment rights and prevented him from making a living. Coming on this show, for example, speaking at all in public. Now, Stone and his wife, who is 71 years old and deaf, have lost their home because of this. They have no insurance. They're utterly broke. The whole thing is shocking and it's disgusting. It's a farce that discredits the entire American justice system.
Yes, it is. It's hard for me to
remember
believe
that prosecutors tipped off.
It's hard for me to believe that that's even possible in America. And if things like this are not righted, I think really people are going to lose hope. I think that we need to see these people indicted. We need to see people paying for their crimes, but not Roger Stone because he hasn't committed a crime. It's unbelievable. All right, let's go on now. And, you know, the tweet that I read earlier about Donald Trump said Mini Mike is 5.4 massive dead energy. Well, Mike Bloomberg responded to that, and he said, Donald Trump, we know many of the same people in New York. Behind your back, they laugh at you and call you a carnival barking clown. They know you inherited a fortune and squandered it with stupid deals and incompetence. I have the record and the resources to defeat you, and I will. No, he won't. No, he won't. But he thinks he will. So let him try. Let him try. Yeah, like, Hillary. She didn't do so well, did she? No. And I like this. Cat Turd responded and said, "You can't even beat Bernie, much less Trump." You gotta love Cat Turd. I love me some Cat Turd. Well, as long as it's not in my litter box. Well, not my litter box. I have a toilet, but, I do like me some Cat Turd. This guy. All right. So, now, let's look at this. Shall we? No. Why can't you open it? Why? Hang on. We'll fix this. Maybe. Or not. We'll try. Oh, look, Judicial Watch. Positions available. Hiring now. Well, I don't know where that went. It was there, and now it's gone. So, and I don't even, well, hang on. If we can see what it's, I don't know. I'll try to find it for the next video. But in the meantime, let's go on because we can. All right. And this by Judicial Watch. Judicial Watch obtains records detailing NIH purchases of aborted fetal parts for humanized mice testing. Yes, you can't make this stuff up. You can try, but truth is always stranger than fiction. All right, well, let's look at this. Yes, humanized mice. You heard that right. That's what the world needs, isn't it? More humanized mice. Wonder how the cats would react to those. I don't know. Judicial Watch announced it received 676 pages of records from the National Institute of Health showing that the agency paid thousands of dollars to a California-based firm to purchase organs from aborted human fetuses to create humanized mice for HIV research. The record shows that NIH paid at least $18,100 between December 2016 and August 2018 to Advanced Bioscience Resources, ABR, for livers and thymuses from second trimester aborted fetuses. They included at least 26 such purchases from ABR by Dr. Kim Hassenkrug, a senior investigator at the NIH lab in Hamilton, Montana. Purchase orders associated with the transaction state these tissues, liver and thymus, are required by Ron Messer for ongoing studies of HIV in the Hassenkrug lab. Our mice will be ready for reconstitution soon. Reconstitution. All righty. Just add water and then they become mice. I don't know. Beginning with a December 21st, 2016 payment to ABR and running through April 2018, the records show that fetal liver and thymus set cost $680 and payment was due upon receipt. On May 23rd, 2018, the cost increased to $750. The record also include tissue acquisition invoices and sales receipts issued by ABR. Payment was made by credit card. Who knew that you could put fetal tissue on your credit card? Judicial Watch received the records through a March 2019 lawsuit against the Department of Health and Human Services for all contracts and related documentation between the FDA and Advanced Bioscience Resources, ABR, for the position of human fetal tissue to be used in humanized mice research. ABR has the subject of criminal referrals from House and Senate committees investigating whether Planned Parenthood or any other entity was illegally profiting from the handle of fetal tissues from aborted babies. Of course they were. Federal law regulates the purchase and acceptance of human fetal tissue for research purposes. It is unlawful to knowingly transfer fetal tissues for profit. According to the records, agency officials concluded in March 2018 that federal regulations for the protection of human subjects do not apply to above-named activity. The records include in November 2009 a request for review of research activity involving human subjects with the protocol title Study of HIV Infection and Vaccine Protection in Mice Reconstituted with a Human Immune System, that describes the development of a cohort of humanized mice using human fetal tissue. Okay. I wonder if these mice, they probably don't eat what normal mice do. Maybe they order pizza at night. I don't know. Recent reports have demonstrated that immunodeficient mice reconstituted with 17 to 19-week-old fetal tissue develop a human immune system and are susceptible to HIV infection and disease. The goal of this project proposal is to create such humanized mice to study the role of immune cell subsets and virus-neutralizing antibodies in vaccine protection. The experiments will entail the development of a cohort of mice, all reconstituted with the same human cells so as to be histocompatible. This will require a transplantation of the mice with 1 millimeter, 3 pieces of fetal thymus, as well as reconstitution with stem cells isolated from cord blood and liver. Once the humanized mice had been established, some will be vaccinated to prime district subsets of immune cells. Immune cell subsets from vaccinated mice will be adoptively transferred into naive mice. Yeah, I hate the mice that are naive. Those are the worst kind of mice. Which will then be infected with HIV to test the antiviral activity of the immune cells. The goal of these experiments is to establish correlates of immunity against HIV. Am I the only one that thinks that humanizing mice is a bad thing? I mean, fetal tissue aside. I'm just saying it's weird. All right. In an overview provided by Advanced Bioscience Resources, the firm describes itself as a non-profit corporate foundation which is devoted to providing services in connection with the procurement of human organs and tissues for medical and scientific research. Well, obviously, if they're charging, they're making money. So I'm not going to go through the rest of this, but I wanted you guys to be aware of it. They were making money hand over fist. Humanized mice. What's next? One only knows. All right. Let's come down here and let's look at this by Ezra Chung. Breaking, Shanghai has banned people and cars from entering the city starting at 00:00. I guess that's midnight, isn't it? Yeah, on February 14th. So tomorrow night at midnight, in order to put the coronavirus outbreak under control, at least 300 cases of such infection have been confirmed in Shanghai, and at least 1 died from the disease in the city. All right, that we know of. Now, this is interesting, and I copied this from a forum. It says, wartime status order, Beijing, Party Committee of Beijing Centers for Disease Control, in order to further discipline, compact responsibility, and ensure that all prevention and control work is carried out in an efficient and standardized manner. The Party Committee of the Beijing Centers for Disease Control and Prevention issued a wartime state order requiring its party members and employees to fully recognize the critical period, critical moment, and keys the urgency and importance of the moment, consciously established a very conscious and entered a wartime state. The first is to insist on using state of war to lead the thinking. Now, obviously, this has been translated into English by somebody that their first language is not English. So, yeah, it's not the best written, but we can Forgive that. The center not only fulfills the city epidemic prevention and control duties, provides professional technical support duties for government decision making, but also implements the unit responsibility of the quartet responsibility to protect the safety and health of all employees, both of which are equally important and cannot be sidelined. Under the unified leadership of the party committee, it unconditionally obeys the decision-making and deployment of the party committee in the wartime state and deserves the current prevention and control work. It resonates at the same frequently. See, I don't even know what this is talking about, other than they're talking about this being wartime. And so is China. China's using that terminology as well, which I think is interesting. Says the second is to insist on strengthening implication with wartime standards. I'm not even sure exactly what this means, except that they are describing this as, you know, a war, really, and which I guess means they can implement martial law, but I guess the Communist Party can do what it wants. So I'm really not getting this. All party members and cadres must take overall consideration into account and resolutely put an end to work mistakes caused by this. I don't even know what this is talking about. It's so badly written that, I mean, it could mean just about anything. So let's skip over this. I'm going to try and find out, though, because I'm seeing this a lot, this whole war thing, you know, that we're in war. And maybe they think they are. Maybe they think that another country has infected them, and possibly it has. I don't know. But, you know, we don't really know how I mean, everyone suspects it came from the Wuhan lab that was dealing with these really high-level pathogens that could really destroy the world, and that it may have gotten out, but we don't know. Maybe somebody did let it loose. So I don't know. But anyway, let's look at this bizarre Joe Biden. Watch, Joe Biden talks about using Hellfire missiles against American gun owners. I think he's flipped his lid. Really, something not right about that boy. Hey, Joe Biden, you just tanked in the Iowa caucuses and your approval in New Hampshire is in free fall with a couple polls out this weekend showing you in 5th place. What are you going to do to right the ship? Oh, you're going to talk about the Second Amendment? Yeah, that should work. Yeah, that will go over real well in the live free or die state. Yeah, so let's see. Hopefully, do they have it? Oh, come on. They didn't give it to us, or him saying this? No, I guess they didn't. Well, what good is that? Gosh darn it. I wanted to see him say it. Dang it. Dang, I said. I know. Watch my mouth. All right. Well, let's go back. Look at this. No, really. Look. Dow tumbles as U.S. warned of hundreds of thousands of coronavirus cases. Health experts urge Congress to prepare for widespread coronavirus outbreak in the U.S., which could number in the hundreds of thousands. Health officials have warned that the Wuhan coronavirus spread in the United States is in far greater numbers than reported, ultimately affecting hundreds of thousands of Americans. The Dow Jones Industrial Average plunged from its record high on Thursday. Health experts told the Senate to brace for hundreds of thousands of U.S. coronavirus cases. China reported a parabolic rise in deaths and cases after changing its diagnostic methodology. After a record-breaking day on the stock market on Wednesday, the Dow Jones took a brutal fall when trading resumed on Thursday. It comes as U.S. health experts urge Congress to take the coronavirus threat more seriously. According to one testimony, there are likely 7 or 8 unknown cases for every confirmed infection. Asha George, executive director of the Bipartisan Commission on Biodefense, warned It may be hundreds of thousands of cases in the U.S. eventually. Speaking before the Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee, a number of experts agreed the threat to the U.S. is underestimated and underreported. Well, that should surprise no one. Nobody reports the news anymore except the alternative media. Anyway, Dow tumbles on Thursday. The Dow Jones dove off its record highs on Thursday, though it pared its losses following a brutal opening bell drop. As of 9:53 a.m. Eastern Time, the Dow had lost 111.8 points, or 0.38%, to settle at 29,439.62. The Dow Jones Industrial Average tumbled from its record high on Thursday. The S&P 500 and NASDAQ also struggled, falling 0.25 and 0.34 respectively. U.S. coronavirus outbreaks to emerge in 2 to 4 weeks. The U.S. has now reported 14 confirmed cases of the deadly virus, but health experts believe the real figures are much higher, as the virus can be transmitted even when undetected for 10 to 14 days. Scott Gottlieb, former commissioner of the Food and Drug Administration, said there are certain cases we don't know about and that we're only capturing 25% of cases at best. He urged the committee to expand testing and warned them to expect a wider outbreak. We're going to see those outbreaks start to emerge in the next 2 to 4 weeks. If it spreads in the U.S., there could be a drag on the Dow Jones and economy. Recent data releases have forecast a positive outlook for U.S. growth. On Thursday, unemployment claims 205,000 narrowly beat expectations, 210,000. Core inflation hit the consensus at 0.2% target. Economists worry that the picture could suddenly darken as the impact of the coronavirus begins to filter out of China and into the global economy. That's especially true if the disease goes viral in the U.S. Luciana Borio, former director for medical and biodefense preparedness at the National Security Council, agreed. He said that the real number of cases is much, much higher than reported. We need to brace ourselves for difficult weeks or months to come. We're going to see a lot more cases in the United States in the near future. And Asha George, executive director of the Bipartisan Commission on Biodefense, said there are generally 7 or 8 unseen cases for every known case. It may be hundreds of thousands of cases here, ultimately, she warned. And stock market rattled as China reports parabolic rise in virus. China confirmed overnight what many had already suspected. The infection rate is significantly higher than first thought. About 15,000 new cases were reported overnight, taking the global toll to 60,000. Well, we know that the numbers are much higher than that. The numbers spiked after China changed the way it diagnosed the virus. Additional cases were confirmed in the U.S. and London. Julie Gerberding, former director of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, warned that America is not yet prepared for the looming pandemic. We simply don't have the surge capacity to handle a widespread outbreak. Now is the time to be leaning in. And that is so true. And it's interesting. I think I told you guys that for Canada, I live in a very small town. I mean, I'm not sure what the population is, but it's just a very small town. And but the largest air base in Canada is located here. And so they have flown 2 plane loads full of Canadians. They have taken them out of Wuhan and they've flown them here. And they are keeping them on the base. But here's the thing. There's a lodge on the base. It's called, I think it's called Yukon Lodge. Anyway, it's kind of like a hotel, sort of, not real fancy, but and that's where they're keeping them. Well, they are just self-quarantining and they've been told not to go outside. Well, one of the people just went out for a walk and they said, well, I know I'm not supposed to, but I didn't think it would hurt anything. This is precisely why these are very selfish people that would do something like that, really. Maybe they don't care about their own health, but they're endangering everyone around them. And that makes me irate. Absolutely irate. They should be quarantined as in quarantined, not to go out, not to have contact with any other human being. What are they going to do? They're supposed to be in there for 14 days. What are they going to do? Let them go shopping in town? Oh, go on. I'm sure you're fine. It worries me because I know how lax they are. So anyway, all right, let's go back. No, really, let's. Okay. Now, this breaking, an individual who was quarantined at Joint Base San Antonio, Lackland, was officially diagnosed with the disease that first originated in Wuhan, China. So there's that. And, whoops. And, let me see. Yeah, I'm going to skip a few things here because it's getting late and I want to get this uploaded so you know that I'm actually posting tonight. Revealed Roger Stone jury foreman is a failed Democrat candidate who mocked his arrest, labeled Trump supporters racist, and posed with ex-DNC chair Donna Brazile. Well, that's not surprising, considering everything else. Foreperson on Roger Stone jury is revealed as anti-Trump activist. Yep. And then there's this. Mike Bloomberg once blamed banks making loans to Black Americans as the cause of the 2008 financial crash. Oh, yes, he did. Yes, he did. All right. And that's in there twice, isn't it? Imagine that. Now, let's look at this. John Savage. Now, I hate reading these words, but the sick bastard Democrats are ready to drag America through their evil, foul swamp yet again. Impeachment 2.0, Democrats line up possible new charges against Trump. Wow. Second impeachment could be on the horizon for Trump. Democrats already have lined up possible charges if they choose to pursue impeachment 2.0. Yes, and we know that they do it. Absolutely. And this, too, I wanted to get to. If you know who the guy in the middle is, then you don't know who Mitt Romney is. Cofer Black is Romney's national security advisor. He sat on the board of Burisma Holdings. Yes, with Hunter Biden. Cofer Black joined the CIA in 1974, and he was the head of their counterterrorism center during the 9/11 terror attacks. John Brennan was the CIA director. Was a CIA station chief, in Saudi Arabia, who approved the shady visas for the 9/11 attackers. Then he followed Black as the next head of CIA's counterterrorism. And this is just scratching the surface of their alliance. Wow. Just when you think it can't get any worse, it does. I don't even say that anymore. And let's look at this because this is perplexing me. Really, this by White House Photos. We know all the, Evergreen. Evergreen was the code name for Hillary Rodham Clinton. And here we have this picture, which is just odd to me. It says the evergreen tree is a stubborn woman. When the coldest day comes, she never abandons her red babies. Becomes home of birds. As William passes by her, red babies speak to him. Please shake hands, hug me, whenever I, pretty in my inner soul to the earth. And that is, I guess, a quote by William Moon. But obviously, the White House put that there for a reason. Because it's bizarre. The evergreen tree is a stubborn woman. Now, evergreen is the code name for Hillary Rodham Clinton. So are they saying Hillary Clinton is a stubborn woman? When the coldest day comes, she never abandons her red babies. Now, are they talking about China? I don't know. Becomes home of birds. As William, are they talking about Bill? Passes by her, red babies speak to him. Please shake hands, hug me, whenever I, pretty in my inner soul to the earth. I don't know. I'm at a loss, but I can bet you that's a message. and it's a message to her. Now, what it's referring to exactly, I don't know. Now, red makes me think of communist, home of birds. Actually, in the Bible, when it talks about something becoming the habitation of birds, that's always in connection with something unclean spirits. So I don't know if perhaps that is what he's talking about. I don't know, but I would love to hear what you all think about this, because it's interesting, it's bizarre. So let me know what you think, and I'm going to leave some of the other things for tomorrow, because time's getting on there, and I hadn't planned on doing 2 videos tonight, just one. So maybe tomorrow I'll have time for 2 videos. We'll see on how much stuff I can dig up between now and then. So there you go. Thank you guys so much for listening. I appreciate it. I really do. I think that I have the best listeners, and no, I don't think that. I know that. I think the listeners here are wonderful, and I'm not saying that to, puff anybody up or whatever, but all you have to do is look at some of the comments, and you can see the quality of people that are here, and it's humbling to me. Anyway, and there's some very smart people here. So anyway, that is it for tonight. So you guys stay safe, stay well, stay blessed, and keep seeking truth, because you and I both know deception bites. Good night.